Welcome to Uncover the Human, where every conversation revolves around enhancing all the connections in our lives.
Whether that's with our families, co-workers, or even ourselves.
When we can be our authentic selves, magic happens.
This is Cristina Amigoni.
And this is Alex Cullimore.
Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of Uncover the Human. It is another hosts-only episode, and we are here to talk about the topic that's on everybody's minds, but with our angle on it, AI.
Yes. But we're going to talk about it from a human readiness point of view. And so the question really is like, are the humans ready? Are we ready as humans? And is the technology ready?
And we mean this both societally and organizationally. Because one thing we've been talking about a lot internally lately is, in our experience in change and what we focus on when we go through managing people's change and trying to help people make transformation and evolution in their companies themselves, is about human readiness. Are you ready to make that change? Like, we often get to the idea of, oh, I should just do it. I know that I won't need to do that. I know I need to eat better. I should just eat better, or I should just do this. And it misses, I think, the point of actually being ready. And AI both misses that point, and we managed to find so many ways, and by we, I mean the royal collective workforce, we have found so many ways to miss the point and miss the readiness for AI. So I think it's time to talk about it. Let's talk about human readiness, what it means, and what we can do to get it for ourselves.
Yes. Yes. We can get to what makes humans ready. I do have a lot of thoughts on what doesn't. If we start there.
Yes.
Or signs that humans are not ready. And it's all going to go down the drain. All the money, all the investment, all the expectations, all your goals, especially, like all your quarterly goals, your sales goal, all of it down the drain. You might as well not do it. There's more effort in actually keep pushing the disposer button as it gets clogged than actually, doing it. So when humans are not ready, when it's shoved down their throats.
So if you're tired of plunging your failed AI strategy that has clogged your plumbing.
Yes.
I'm not going to go too far in that metaphor.
More money on Drano. You may want to step back and ask the questions, are the humans ready? And what are the signs that they may not be or they may be?
Yes, this week I've been reading headlines about Salesforce, among many others, expressing regret for the thousands of people they laid off because they were sure AI was going to take over. So that's one aspect of readiness that was clearly failed. The tool was not ready. Like the imagined idea of what AI could do was not true. That was not what was available to happen, much less what should have been happening. Yeah. So there was
and
one,
it's beyond the tool. It's not just about the tool wasn't ready. Again, like the humans weren't ready.
Yes.
Because you don't just bring a tool and then you're like, okay, we've got AI. No.
Yes. Not only was it not ready to replace the humans who were not replaced, not counting the horrendous morale that you just impact that you just made, the other humans that were supposed to, work with AI that replaced their coworker Dave they used to know and talk to and go to lunch with, they were not ready for the tools. The tools were not ready to make the jump. It was this was a massive flub in readiness, and we saw this happen over and over. There are people who jumped the gun on jumping to layoffs, which that should never be your first impulse, even if you thought this was possible, even if you thought you could do this, which you should have known better. But even if you thought that, you shouldn't have reached for the layoff buttons. So just quick soapbox moment on that one. You shouldn't. Why did you reach for layoffs? Yeah. We invent tools to make things better for people, not to replace them. Let's maybe do better.
Yeah, it is possible to do better. You can even ask AI. It'll say yes. You can do better.
Yes. It will find ways to help you do that.
It will even create a whole plan on how you can do better. Yes, there is a way to do better. In seconds. Yes, that's a good use of AI. So I can figure out how to do better, so that you're not destroying humans' lives and destroying, again, it's probably going to take a few years or decades, but companies are still mainly made of humans. So if you destroy the human and you don't consider the human in your plans, again, buy a lot of drainer. You're going to be unclogging all the stuff that you're throwing down the drain. With the plans and the PowerPoints and the reorgs and the technology and we did this and the layoffs and the list goes on.
So now we're in negative human readiness space, like to the point where you're going to have to do so much work to get you back to a level where you would have started at if you'd done this like more with human readiness in mind the first time. Now you've just destroyed morale. Yeah, like at best you might have to rehire a lot of people, which is a very costly endeavor. And how much trust are those people going to have knowing they're coming in to a team that just on a whim shuffled 4,000 people out the door? It's pretty brutal. That's like you've set readiness back tremendously, and so readiness is also a good way of thinking about trust. Because you're not ready, you're not going to trust people to make a change if you're not ready. You'll be ready when you do have the trust.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits of readiness, and a necessary piece is if you destroy that, you're going to need the trust before you can get ready again. So let's see if we can talk about what does human readiness look like.
And we can use AI as the subject du jour for that, because let's think about what you really want from AI. There's the idea that it can make things more productive. And I think a lot of people jumped in with the idea that it can replace people's jobs. But if you think about it, you could just augment people. If you use AI tools, you could make them 10 times more effective. They can reduce a lot of tedious tasks, give that to AI and not have to do some of the things that are unnecessarily taking hours. So it could have been and it can be, and I think it eventually will be, a people augmenter. You will be able to use these tools to just better organize knowledge bases, schedules, shared information. It'll be able to generate some ideas for you, and you'll still have to do a lot of the checking and understanding of what you're generating. But it can be a people augmenter. So let's talk about what it would be like to be ready for AI as a people augmentation tool. Human readiness would look like understanding that, hey, that's the goal, not replacing people. That would help a lot. Maybe help people understand the why. That's a big part of readiness. Why are we making this change, and what do we expect to get out of this? The what's in it for me, the ever popular WIFM for change management is what are they going to get out of this if they make this adoption, if they jump in and adopt these tools and have AI as part of their workflows and processes, and how can they effectively use that? That then brings us to training. How are you going to do this? How are they going to know how to do this? How does everybody do it in a way that it's consistent and you're getting what you want out of it, and they're not just getting used to like replacing what otherwise should be critical thinking with AI and just sending out the output? How do you make sure that there's checks on that, or checks and balances, on that? And how do you make sure people are trained on how to use that? Those are just a few huge aspects of human readiness to make a change like adopting AI. What else would you add?
I would add actually looking at how people work today, understanding that and figuring out if AI is taking these tasks, then this part of the work, how does both individually as a team and organizationally, how do we need to evaluate and perhaps restructure how people work? And like how do they communicate with each other? What are the actual responsibilities and the roles? Is there a possibility to change teams and how teams are formed? Because now AI is an individual in the team. Is there a possibility for changing our goals based on what we want to achieve? Is there a possibility for changing how departments and teams communicate with each other? Because now there's an additional presence of AI in this. So it's not just add AI and you're done. That's when AI implementations fail. You're not done. It changes people's lives. And so part of that WIFM and the why and all of those things is thinking like, okay, if my identity was to do this task and now 70% of it is done by AI, what is my new identity? And how does my new identity fit in the team context of everybody else's new identity? And how does that fit in the department context of departments having new identities? So there's a whole from individual to organizational view that needs to be looked at from an understand what's happening today, insert AI, what changes are needed, and now how do we make those changes well? Again, there's better ways to do that. And how are those changes not done in a just do it type of thing, and in a, well, figure it out type of thing, when people don't have the authority to figure it out because it's not their decision to move teams or change a department or change goals. And so this is the opportunity to actually making the humans ready to add a new team member, practically a new perhaps manager, a new resource. Like it's a whole being in itself.
And you have to know what role that's intended to fill. Like, understand what do you actually want AI to do? Because we've seen so many companies who are like, we just need people to use AI, and so they do things like track usage of AI. At which point you just have people logging on, submitting a query to ChatGPT and be like, there, I used it, I'm done. Like, and does that help anything? No, nobody's getting any ROI out of that. It's just showing like, hey, yes, I'm part of the adoption, so please don't fire me, which is a totally understandable thing to do, but you're not measuring anything useful and you're not getting anything useful out of it. So the whole just do it idea, it really falls on its face the second you haven't figured out what role this is supposed to take. What is it even supposed to do for your team? What would you like it to do? And for that matter, how do you figure that out? How do you help like the people who want to go experiment with this? How do you share their knowledge? How do you see what's a good experiment? Like putting some guardrails on that so that people understand that, as well as are able to understand what the outcome of that is. Okay, this can help replace some pieces of this task or process. So what do we all do now? And to make sure that A, we are using that effectively, and B, what do we do now if that was part of what we were doing before and now we have time freed up to do something else? What does that look like? And where else do we concentrate? Where do we get even better value out of this? And it can be a huge, I think, boon to all kinds of things because it could do things quickly as long as you have the right checks and balances on it and you have people using it appropriately. So how do you get to that end goal? Not just using it for the sake of using it, not just saying you're an AI-powered something with no thought or intent put behind it. How do you actually make it useful? And how do you convey to people that this will be useful?
Yeah, exactly. And how do you convey that they still matter? Because that's the fear. The biggest fear in the AI revolution is I no longer, and it's proven by thousands and thousands of people getting laid off in the last year or so, because the AI being the excuse of it for the layoffs. But what's the fear of like, how do I contribute now? What is expected of me? Where's my identity in this? With this new thing that can do 70%, 80%, 100% of the tasks that I used to do. And so really looking at that and understanding, how do we talk at the individual level about this? Not just at the organizational level, not with some number of like, we just need 20% of our workforce to be using AI, 5 days a week. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Okay. I've created, 5 images of cute penguins going on bicycles, in the air. There, I use AI. It's like, make it real and then understand what that does for the humans. Again, human readiness is considering the humans first. This is a tool. Okay. This is like going from, we have bicycles and horses to cars and planes. Great. How do we want people to use the tool? It's not how does the tool change, dictate, who gets to travel now. How do people use the tool?
Yes. And how do you use it in ways that don't just replace brains? Because it can't. It's proven that it can't quite do that. It can't replace some of the collaboration points. It can't replace how you need to use things. It can help get you responses quickly. It can help generate things. And I love your example of the penguins in the air in a bicycle, because that is the most AI thing I've heard. We can generate that in a second. And that is a perfect example of useless AI. It didn't mean anything. It's just a use. No. And I
got cute penguins.
Yes. And there's value to that, I suppose.
There is value to that. There's definitely value to that. I may or may not spend a lot of time generating random images just to see how cute they come out.
Yeah. Yes. I think there's things that you can do with it. So think about what you actually want to achieve with it. It's a flexible tool, but it doesn't replace critical thinking, and you need a lot of critical thinking to use it well. So how do you get people who are still the kings and queens of critical thinking, or can be if we let ourselves be? How do you help them use the tool well. And I like the analogy of cars because you didn't get cars and then assume that like now I don't need people. You just got cars and assumed you could get places faster.
Yes, exactly. Also, you don't get cars and planes to replace your bicycle and your horse and then use that to do everything.
Yes.
I would want to see how you can deliver newspapers that you used to do on a bicycle and on foot with a plane, on everybody's foot, steps. And that's not a thing that happens anymore. So let's, talk about, I don't know, Amazon packages. Would love to see how you just replace the human and the vehicle of today to actually deliver individual packages in front of individual homes with a plane.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that might not be a very helpful thing to eventually do, but it doesn't mean it can be done right away or that it should be. You should fire all your delivery drivers right now because maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe one day we'll have self-driving cars too. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to ask my kids to go get a driver's license. It's still going to happen.
Exactly.
It would be great. I would love to not have to drive, but that's not there yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I had this conversation actually this weekend with my brother when he has a small child, and he says it may be that when my own son, my nephew, grows up, getting a driver's license, it's not going to be a thing. I don't actually believe that, but it may be a thing that it doesn't become necessary anymore, it becomes optional, but we're not there yet. So my 14-year-old in the meantime and my 11-year-old are going to get signed up for driving school when it's their time.
Yes. Yeah. It's still probably a useful skill and will be for decades to come, even if we can slowly make actually working self-driving cars, which we're closer than we have ever been, but that's not to say we're close.
No, exactly. So maybe let's not shut down all the driving schools yet.
Yes.
And the DMV.
That has been,
I don't know.
That's the perfect example of jumping the gun on human readiness. None of this was ready. None of this was ready. Yeah. And a bunch of companies basically went and fired all the driving instructors. Why? Why did you do this? First of all, just to not think of the human cost of the morale and trust you were going to lose by doing that, much less it never materialized any of the savings that you thought were going to somehow make up for the fact that you just destroyed the culture, even for the remaining people, even the people that weren't fired. Happens every time you have layoffs. And AI is an even more demoralizing one because people are worried they're not going to be able to find the next thing because too many things will have been replaced. Thankfully, that is not borne out, and I'm hoping that means there'll be a lot of people finding jobs who have been struggling for the last few months to find those. But what a thing to do, to just destroy trust. You can do a lot better. And you really have to think about human readiness for any change, especially something like AI, where there's so much fear, concern, and absolute unknown at every level.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the human readiness. It's this is a great plan. This is a great technology. This is a great whatever you want it to be. I've never seen a more beautiful PowerPoint. The strategy makes so much sense. Of course you can do all these things and AI can help with, scaling from one location to 400 in 6 months. But the humans can't do that. That is not humanly possible. Is it possible on paper? Absolutely. On paper, I can go live on Venus. And then come back to miss the winter.
I made this mistake in the job that we met at. So I was doing the automated data conversion of old platforms to new platforms, and I knew that if we could get the automated thing to work, we could get data converted in a matter of hours. And I thought, and I'd heard that it was that one of the differentiators was that we can implement faster than other platforms, which is a big deal in platform changes that take a long time. It would have been very helpful. So I thought, man, I'm going to solve this with technology. I'm in charge of this automated data conversion. I know that we can get there, and we can basically convert people's data in a matter of minutes onto this new platform. That's not what was missing. It's humans being ready to use the platform and being able to use it and having it actually replace the functions that it needed to replace and their day-to-day habits and processes and have it do it well. The technology can move as fast as possible. The actual human readiness was the sticking point, and that's what needed to be solved for. And I made that mistake. I wholeheartedly went for it. I just was on the technical side of things. I was thinking about things from a technical point of view, and I did the technical job of it. It just isn't the same as everything being ready. I can generate a PowerPoint in seconds with AI.
Yes.
That's great. Is it the right PowerPoint? Does it actually get the meeting? Does it make does it do the pitch for me? No, I have to go use these things, and I have to actually make them usable for other people, make sure they are understandable. That human readiness portion is always present, and AI gives us 1,000 opportunities to forget that. And we're going to trip over and stub our toes every single time we do.
Yes. And so we're not saying don't use AI. We use it.
No,
we are constantly exploring new ways to use it, new tools. We're maybe not as close as, some techies, but we're keeping up with now I can do this. Great, let's try that out. And when is it a good time for us to say, oh, this completely replaces our knowledge base? Or this completely replaces this. We don't replace it first and then figure out what it means on how we actually work with it. We're looking at it from this is how we're working today. Which pieces make sense that could provide the efficiency and the speed while still maintaining our own roles, varied and growth and changed. But how does this actually help us from a human perspective first with the tool? With having a new tool. I remember we're considering a new tool in a couple of days that, we're going to get a demo on. And this same conversation we had in September. And my first reaction was I wholeheartedly believe this tool is the next great thing.
It could be super helpful. Yes.
It could be super helpful. Right now, our team does not have the capacity to even consider this. Because we're in the middle of finishing our book, a book launch, finishing major projects, having a multi-hundred people workshop coming up that we have to get ready for and deliver. This is not the human time. The humans will not be able to absorb any of it. They will resist it. So if we do want to do it in the future, we're not going to be able to either then. And so, nope, not right now. It's coming up again. Okay, now that we've had rest, the holidays, we don't have any major projects at the moment. Wait 60 seconds, something will come up. But for now, talking about this tomorrow is possible to see what is the human readiness and capacity to absorb this new tool and how are we going to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that distinction because I'm not advocating for not using AI. I think there's a lot that can be helped. I'm just saying that because of what we think it can do, if we don't test those assumptions, if we're not careful with it, and if we're not careful with the rollout the same way we should be with any rollout and any change, and if we don't consider the human readiness, we'll end up stubbing our toes every time. But there's absolutely ways to make it happen, and it will be very helpful to happen. It'll be a very commonplace part of life in the next 3 to 5 years. It'll be incredibly commonplace. Everybody will be fairly used to these things and fairly used to these tools. It doesn't mean you can jump in right now, but it does mean that you can start with it and it will help. And you should always consider the human readiness of any change, especially something like this where there is so much human suspicion, rightfully so, for how it's been treated so far.
Yes, exactly. So think of the humans. Are the humans ready? Are you ready as a human? That's the first question.
Yes.
If you can't answer if you're ready as a human, then there's a good chance that most everybody else around you is not ready either.
Yes.
Do you understand how this is going to change your own life?
Yeah. And it's okay to not know if you're ready yet and to go do a little exploration. You should go do a little exploration and figure out what it would look like to be ready or when you'll be ready or whether now is the time or if it's just something to say oh, I want to keep this in mind, but now is not the time, like you said with our experience in September.
Yeah, exactly. So good luck.
Good luck. Go forth in AI.
Yes.
Humanly.
Humanly. Thanks for listening. That's still a human thing. Well, AI can listen too, but it's a different thing.
Hopefully you're getting more out of it.
Yes, exactly. Until we process this to come up with something else. But yes, you'll get something out of it.
Make this a 15-second summary for you.
Yes.
Now that you've listened to this far already.
See you next week.
See ya.